Thank you very much for joining us again on the program Capital Market. I'm Temple Ashaju. As always, in the course of the program, you may wish to join us on our social media platforms. Tweet at us at Channels TV and at CTV. That's on Twitter. But let's start the show with this news. The Securities and Exchange Commission this week recognized or reaffirmed that the Code of Corporate Governance applies to all public companies in Nigeria. A notice from the NASD Securities Exchange emanating from a special orientation session for unlisted public securities companies shows that the information relates to the review of the SEC Code of Corporate Governance Practice. Now, the SEC highlighted the responsibility of the directors in ensuring compliance with the code, but also encourages shareholders and public companies to assess the level of compliance of their company. Now, with a view to implementing the code and measuring compliance, the SEC specifically requires all public companies to submit 3 documents periodically, including a corporate governance scorecard within 1 month of year-end, essentially a self-appraisal from each company's compliance with the code. The second is the quarterly unaudited financial statements within a month of the end of each quarter, as well as annual audited financial statements within 3 months of the end of each financial year. According to the NASD statement, a second review of compliance with the code is due before month end, that is April 2018. And accordingly, the NASD has welcomed the extension of these requirements to unlisted public companies. And with that, let's now look at the NASD where that press statement came in to look at what transpired in terms of tradings this week on that platform. It's unlisted securities market, which is represented by the USI benchmark, came in at 656.55. That's a decrease of 1.09% as against 663.82 points that we saw in the preceding week. Market capitalization from the markets was 444.30 billion naira versus 449.23 billion naira traded last week. Volume for year-to-date and deals for year-to-date are the numbers you can see right there on the screen. Value for the period done so far for the first quarter of the year and the first week of April, it's put at 3.60 billion naira. Now let's move on to the fixed income market, where the bond space kicked off the week with healthy demands as the CBN MPC retained all monetary policy rates at its first meeting of the year. By midweek, the buy side of the market had weakened as liquidity tightened. Bond yields closed the week at 7 basis points lower on average. And the numbers for trading yesterday on the FMDQ secondary market, we've got the March 2027, April 2037, and the 2034, 18th of July securities, attracting a lot of reaction from investors there. A total of 26 deals and 5.40 billion naira was the value of bonds traded on that secondary platform yesterday, Friday. The Treasury bills market now. T-bills market began the week on a bullish note as the CBN held back from liquidity mop-ups. And traders noted buying sentiment strengthened at midweek. Stop rates at Wednesday's primary market auctions came in lower than previous auctions and secondary market levels. Despite a 434 billion naira Treasury bills inflow, demand waned on Thursday as the CBN returned to mop-up of 749 billion naira. Now, the mixed trading at week close led the declines in yields by 45 basis points on average. There you have December 2018, April 2018, and September 2018 securities in terms of Treasury bills now, having those numbers right there on the screen. Total deals was 258.40 billion naira in terms of value. And when you put together the bonds and treasury bills trading on the FMDQ platform yesterday, Friday, the 6th of April, together, you have a total of 258 billion naira in value and 507 numbers of deals in total on that platform for Friday. Let's move on to the equity markets. Stocks had its all-share index on the Nigerian Stock Exchange declining 1.60%, and that puts the all-share index at 40,841.14 points. Equity capitalization came in lower at 14.753 trillion naira, while the total volume was 1.765 billion naira. 26.56 billion naira was the value of what was traded, but 1.765 billion units of shares represented those numbers. And total deals for the week was 20,265. Remember that this week we had just 4 trading sessions. And for the sectoral indices, all the sectors came in red this week. The banking index, the insurance index, consumer goods index was down 1.08%, while the oil and gas lost the most of 2.77%, and the industrial goods index followed suit with 2.09%. Stocks are still low in price in the Nigerian market here. Now, as part of listings requirements on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, companies with December 31st as their financial year end are expected to declare their full year financial statements at least 3 months after